Hey, hockey fans, welcome to the 7-Eleven Overtime Podcast. I'm your host, Gino Retta. You know, I've spent over 4 decades working in the game of hockey. Fortunate enough to speak to some of the legends of the game, saw them come into the league, watched them shine in the game. Now they've moved on to life after the game. The 7-Eleven Overtime Podcast gives us a chance to catch up, tell some great stories, relive some great memories, and hear what they're up to today. Today's legend was the first overall selection in the 1987 NHL Draft. Played 19 seasons in the league for 6 different teams, scored over a point a game in his 1,294 career NHL games. A 5-time All Star, Lady Byng winner, one of only 46 players in NHL history with 500 or more goals, and now a member of the 2023 Hockey Hall of Fame class. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Pierre Turgeon. Pierre, thanks for checking in with us. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. You said 87. That's been a couple years ago. My God. Wow.
You still look fantastic, though. You're in good health, I assume.
I try to stay. I still play. I still get out there and play hockey. I love the game, so it's been a part of my life, and I still get on the ice and have fun, So, but I still probably work out a couple times a week, and I try to stay in shape. Yeah, I try to. That's a challenge.
The last time you and I visited together was in the dressing room in Toronto at the Legends hockey game, getting ready for the Hockey Hall of Fame. It might have been last year or the year before, and you and I just caught up briefly having a chat. And you were there as a former great, but not yet a Hockey Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
You were kind of surrounded by all these Hockey Hall of Famers. Were you allowing yourself at that point to think maybe one day I won't be just a call up to come and play in this game, but rather a Hall of Famer?
It's funny you're saying this. Lanny McDonald, that's the first thing he told me on the phone. He goes, now you're going to be part of it. You don't have to just to come to play the game and leave right after. So, but you're right. I mean, you look around, it's amazing. I mean, all the names and the people you're with. But the great thing about hockey is it's just a great world to be a part of. You could be in the locker room, you feel like you're part of these guys still, and it's so much fun. Even guys you didn't know and you played against, you connect. There's a connection forever. That's what hockey does, I feel like.
What was it like? You mentioned Lanny McDonald. For those listeners and viewers who don't know what happens, the Hockey Hall of Fame Selection Committee meets, they vote, and then once they've decided, you're literally in the vault at the Hall of Fame, and they start making calls to let people know. So, and there's no leaks there because they're literally making the calls as soon as they make the decision. Right. And so, were you sitting at home? Were you thinking maybe today'll be the day? What was that phone call like?
I'm in Vegas with my family, and it's actually my sister-in-law's 50th birthday. So we go and we have fun, and we're coming back that day. But I'm at the gym. I'm working out. I'm on the treadmill, and I get a phone call, and 416. So I'm like, okay, I'll get it and I'll call back. And, so I get another call on the treadmill. I said, okay. I get in the elevator. I got another call. I got in the hallway. I got another call. And then when I got in the room, the 5th call, I said, I better answer this one, And when I heard at the end of the night, say Lanny McDonald, I'm just, okay, that's all you got to say. I'm just pumped right now. That's all, But I was so, what a great call to get. These guys are, Lanny's Lanny, and I had a chance to meet him in Afghanistan when I went to Afghanistan. What a great guy! So getting a phone call from him, and it was what a great day. It's beautiful.
All right, so you get that call, which is freaking awesome, obviously.
No kidding.
Who's your first call to after that?
My wife, obviously. So she's not with me. She's at the table down in Vegas, and I called her. I said, we can't say anything right now. Let's wait a bit. And but she came up, and that was my first call. And I waited, obviously, before it was out. And then I started making phone calls, telling my kids and the family. So it's just an exciting day, So, I mean, I heard my name, many years. You guys, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? And it's one of those years that I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just in Vegas having fun, And the last thing, that phone call from Toronto, I'm like, it's I don't know, I'll call back, whatever. I wasn't thinking about it. And after the 5th call, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna get this one. And then obviously great call to get. And It's just just happy to be part of all this. It's just, when you look at all the names, it's and being part of those names, that's crazy.
And really happy for you. For those who did
thank you.
The pleasure of meeting you, one of the great guys in the game. The smile that you have on your face is basically just that's who you are. I want to get back to the humble way this all began. Being first overall, there are big expectations, but you don't know what the transition is going to be like. And then you're going to the Buffalo Sabres. For our audience who may not know this, you don't speak a lot of English. So you're now introduced to one of the younger franchises in the NHL, and you don't speak a lot of English. You don't really know that many people on the team. What is that like to say, oh my gosh, I'm going from small town Quebec where I'm playing major junior to a big city of Buffalo. I don't know the language. I don't know the people. What was that like for you?
So the biggest part is I have help from Jacques Cloutier. He was the backup goalie in the Sabres, and I had a chance to live across. And I live with a Billet family, so I used to call him all the time and say, "How do you say I'm hungry?" Like, I mean, it's just you learn, things every day. And next thing you know is I was got to be friend with Jacques. Jacques, we're from the same town also, and you get to practice. The other thing is the coach is saying something. You get behind the line, and hopefully, when it's your turn, you get to know what's going on the drill. So, and then if not, then you go back behind the line and you wait again until you get it. So it was an adjustment. There's no doubt about that. But when you get on the ice, it's home. So even if you don't speak as well or you can't communicate as well, hockey's hockey, and you get in your own little bubble and you get into that place where it's fun to be, and it's just to have that focus going on. But the biggest difference is from being junior to go to the NHL, and you have 18,000 people watching the game, and the first couple of games, you're like, wow, this is amazing, but I gotta say, it took me probably 20 games to 25, 30 games to really think that I belong here. The game was faster, the guys are stronger. Buffalo was a smaller ice, you had the puck, it was gone. So it took me some games to really feel like, I would say 20 games of my first year to say, okay, this is going to be all right. I'm going to be okay here. So, but it is the step from the junior to the NHL is humongous. People don't realize, but it's hard to make it. And when you think about it, there's only 700 and something players that makes it every year, and that's it. It's in the world, crazy, So, but being part of this, and being able to do something I love many years, and had a career, and so the process of learning the language was one, but hockey was another one, and then people you meet through hockey, and I was blessed to do something I know. So that's unbelievable.
It's really interesting because the timing of it is pretty interesting for me personally, because that was right when I started my television career.
Okay.
In '87, as you're coming into the league, I'm coming into television, and I'm watching this guy play in Buffalo, and what you did. I mean, you're humble, so you say that's just hockey, but you were in there. I think it was your third season in the league. You had 100 points. You're up there with some of the greatest of all time scorers, with Gretzky, Lemieux, Messier, Yzerman. You're right up there amongst the leading scorers, and you're just 3 years into the league. What was that like for you? Did you ever look at the leading scorers and go, my God, I'm right there with these guys?
Yeah, because these guys are these guys. I mean, they're in a different level, I feel like.
But you were in that level, though.
Yeah, but Gretzky and Lemieux, It's just these guys. It was just but just and being able to be a part of the platform, the NHL, and just being in there, and I was thinking my first couple of years, I'm just want to, if I could last 6 years, I'll be happy. 10 years, maybe, wow, this. And then if I could save as much as I can, because we were making less money. And then that was my thinking. I could finish my career, have a house paid, and just, man, I could go work and I could do different. That was my mentality when I started my career, and played 19 seasons. So it's and I loved it, So sure, there's moment that's harder. Sure, there's moment that it's not always easy, but every time I put my 2 feet on the ice, I feel really, it feels right. Even today,
Yeah.
I just don't feel the same way the next day. That's all. But yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's fun. I enjoy it. But you're right. I mean, playing a part of the best players in the NHL or in the world,
Yeah.
and being a part of playing against Gretzky or Lemieux or Messier or these guys, that's unbelievable, for me, like I said earlier, it's just to do something I love and playing against the best player in the world, and I love the game, love the game.
You mentioned home, and for you, home in the NHL meant a couple of different things because it changed. I mean, you started your career in Buffalo, things went real well there. You were a good scorer in there, and then you're part of a very significant deal with one of the all-time legends of the game, Pat LaFontaine, and you get traded to the New York Islanders. What was that like for you?
Well, it was hard because the first trade, especially then early in the career, it was like everyone was staying at the same place, and for a lot of years and stuff, they were starting. And when Wayne got traded to LA, like everyone was like, "Oh, if Wayne gets traded, if Wayne gets traded." After that, you're like, "Okay." So, but it was a hard adjustment. But the second one was fine. But the hardest one was the first one, definitely. And but I got traded like 3 times, and then it was all signing. I signed a free agency twice, and so that was traded from Buffalo to Long Island, Montreal, Montreal to St. Louis, and then after that, I was able to choose where I was going through all this. But it's always hard. What's hard is when the kids are getting older, and you're in a place where, especially when we were in Dallas, great city, great place to live, and the kids have friends, schools, and the moving part is not easy. And obviously, you got to have the right, good people. My wife is great, obviously, with all that, and the kids. But looking back now, we met a ton of people to all these cities, and we're still good friends with a lot of people. And so it brought us some good things. But in the moment, it's not always easy when you move around, for sure.
But you kept producing. I mean, I mentioned right off the top of the show that you're one of 46 people in NHL history to score 500 goals. You had a great year on the island. Things went a great transition for 92-93 season. You had a career best 58 goals, 132 points, which was 8th in the league at that point. At this point, apart from Connor McDavid, you'd be number 1.
It's unbelievable when you think about it.
Yeah. The whole goal scoring side of things for you never seemed to sink into you at how good you were. And here's why I say that, because you were on a line with Stumpy, Steve Thomas, on the island. And he says, this is his quote: "Pierre's different from most superstars. He doesn't know how good he is. So when I have a chance, I have to remind him." Did you find that people had to remind you? Because
Stumpy was unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, how fun was it to play with Steve Thomas and Derek King? I mean, these guys, Steve could create with his speed and and he was not a big guy, but he was feisty. And he could create a lot of scoring chance with his speeds, and he always told me, and even Derek King goes, "I don't want the puck." Well, I do. So just give it to me. I want it. So one day, So he doesn't want to have the puck in the neutral zone. He says, "When I get around the net, then give it to me. That's where I want it." I said, "Okay, I don't have a problem with that." So, but it was fun to play with these guys. Obviously, these guys were good hockey players, good hockey sense, and they worked, and we just had a great chemistry. And that team we had in '93 was just a great team to be part of. Al Arbor was just, I mean, we learned so much from Al. Wisdom, he's a dad. He helped us. He was so calm. I mean, it's just, but he could see what was going on. I always remember when things were going well and we had a good night, he saw it right away. He goes, "Okay, short shift." Why? Because we were going back all the time. He was always, So, but he could see that game. And I learned so much from Al, and playing with these guys. The group we had in '93 was incredible. A lot of people we still meet, once a year, try to in a way, but it's fun to see these guys for sure.
In conversation with Hockey Hall of Famer Pierre Turgeon. This is the 7-11 Overtime Podcast. I'm your host, Gino Reda. You mentioned the 92-93 season. You guys had a good playoff run that year, and it led to the incident. And people, it's one of the most disturbing pieces of video that I remember in NHL history because it just took us to a different level. Let me set the backdrop now. Gary Bettman is taking over the league as the NHL commissioner. He comes in and says, if we're going to sell this game to the U.S., we got to clean it up a little bit. So he made all kinds of promises. We're going to clean this game up. We're going to get, this out of the game and the nastiness out of the game because we need to sell it to the U.S. networks because that's where the cash is. And then the incident happens. You're facing the Islanders and the Capitals. You're in the playoffs, game 6. You're up 4-1 in the game. You score. Take our audience through what happens next.
Well, so it was game 5, if I'm not mistaken, and it was just at the end of and then putting another goal and scoring that goal. It was actually the end of the cap, and we were moving forward for the next round against Pittsburgh. So, so I'm celebrating, obviously, score blocker side over the pads, and I'm just facing the crowd, and after 3 or 4 seconds, I'm just, and I really felt, so I separated my shoulder at that point. So I went down, couldn't get up. And then I was out I think I came back 2 weeks after. Weird thing, but that's crazy. I had one shoulder against Montreal. I couldn't do anything. But
the big thing was, though, you were completely vulnerable. You had no idea it was coming. You had just scored the goal. The game was out of hand. You were just skating away from the play, and Dale Hunter just smoked you. You were completely vulnerable. I think all of us were just kind of in shock. Like, did that really just happen?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're in the game, you're focusing, and this happened and looking back. It was a 93, so obviously many years ago. But I think frustration came in play, but it was the biggest suspension that I had at that point, if I'm not mistaken. And that was,
and it was $150,000 to the team and $150,000.
That what it was? See, I didn't know that part.
Of his salary.
It's big. It's big. So it's the biggest suspension. So those things, obviously, you got to put consequences. It's got to be, and I felt like he had consequence for that for sure. So,
yeah. Did he ever call you to talk to you about it afterwards?
3 days after, so it was a little rough. So I never seen Dale after. I never seen him after. So, but 3 days after, he called me and mentioned that he felt bad about it. But, so
listen, the good news was you were okay. You came back a couple of weeks later, which was great, and it really established a shift in the league where it said you can't do this anymore.
Yeah, that's right. Which is good. We don't want that.
Which is good for the game.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
Now let's get to something that was good for you. And now, let me ask you this. In April of 1995, you're French Canadian. You get dealt to the Mecca of hockey.
Yeah.
From a French Canadian standpoint to the Montreal Canadiens. It was a little rough initially. You talked about the deal to Dallas, maybe a little bit rough. What was it like to find out you're going to Montreal?
I was happy. How can you not? I grew up in Montreal, northern Montreal. So I'm thinking, wow, so a lot of things happened, obviously, so Serge left, Savard, and we had a bunch of the GM left, the coach left, we knew his coaching staff, Patrick was situation, leaving the farm, opening the Molson Center.
Hold on. Let me stop you on the Patrick Waugh situation. The Patrick Waugh situation was the big blowout night where Waugh came back to the bench and said, that's it for me. You might as well move me. I'm done here. You were on the bench when that actually happened.
Yeah.
What part of that conversation did you hear, and what were you involved with Patrick afterwards?
Well, I knew that he says that it was going to be the last game that he's going to play for the Montreal Canadiens. Because I drove with Patrick all the time. So going back from Rosemere to the Forum, so I drove with him all the time. So, and I was sitting right beside him. So we talked all the time. I still talk to him today, he's a friend. And, it's one of those things that happened that, like that situation, but it was many situations that happened that they were trying to find, I think, stability and just go back to winning and a lot of things happened during that time. But I was only there for 2 years, So Patrick's situation was a big one. But the other thing was closing the farm. Wow. What an incredible thing for me. I was at the right place, the right time as a captain, and having the torch, closing the farm, the history in there, the ceremony, the captain on the ice, the Rocket, Jean Béliveau, name it. Wow. I still have goosebumps when I talk about it. It's crazy. And it's just for me, as a young kid growing up 7 hours north of Montreal and being a part of this, wow. And what a history that, and the Rockets, the ovation they had for, 7 minutes ovation. And it was incredible. And
For our
I'm so
audience,
glad,
maybe, yeah,
I'm so
for our
glad I was
audience,
able to go ahead.
so I was going to just say for our audience that doesn't know the story, just a little bit of backstory. As the Montreal Forum, the storied forum was closing and you were getting to move on to the new building, they brought in all the former captains and the current captain, which just
Yeah.
happened to be you.
Yep.
You were wearing
That's right.
the
That's
seat.
right. Timing.
And they did the passing of the torch ceremony from the oldest still alive captain, and which involved Maurice Richard and Jean Beliveau passing the torch. And then you were the last person to receive the torch. What was it like to be a part of a ceremony like that? And you're like, my God, these are some of the greatest Montreal Canadiens, guys who I grew up watching of all time.
It's just it's a privilege. You feel it. You can't believe it. It's just you're looking around on the ice and you're going to all the players and the names that are out there. It's amazing. That's the history of the Montreal Canadiens, and the people that was there. And just like I said earlier, that's right place, right time, and having the torch, leaving the last guy to the torch from the Montreal, and the first guy going to the to bring the torch and Bell Center, Molson Center was just incredible. And people after the game stayed there until morning. They didn't want to leave. It was the last time. It was it. And so there's I don't know. For me, I was just blessed, just there and being part of that celebration and how that red carpet then went all the way around and you see everyone around it and it was just what an incredible night and I'm so glad I was able to be a part of it. So, but like I said, a young kid from Hawaii, North of Montreal, is in the middle of that forum with the torch. Wow. No, it's amazing. Yeah.
With Hockey Hall of Famer, former
Amazing.
Montreal Canadiens captain, Pierre
Yeah.
Turgeon. This is the 7-Eleven Overtime Podcast. I'm your host, Gino Retta. Pierre, there were moments like that, which clearly we look at as hockey fans and say, I'll never forget that moment. I'll never forget that. And those are, clearly above and beyond the rest. Are there other moments that you miss or look back on with that maybe we wouldn't recognize as much as it happened to you, where you think, this was special to me too? Maybe other people didn't see it, but this meant a lot to me. What moment that you can reflect on now as somebody who's going into the Hockey Hall of Fame?
Yeah, St. Louis was obviously the New York Islanders, 93 special group. Al Arbor is probably our core that made us believe that we could beat the Penguins in 93. And everyone was like, no, it's impossible. But Al goes, oh, yeah, it's possible, So, and we're looking at it like, okay, next thing you know is game 7, overtime. And we went in overtime. But the funny thing is, I just mentioned this to some of the guys when I was on Long Island. And we are on OT, second OT, if I'm not mistaken, a third. And I could see the level of game going down. I have one shoulder, so, and I'm not supposed to be dressed. I'm not supposed to be on the bench. But I asked Al. I said, because I know the Fort line wasn't playing as much, and I said, can I be on the bench? So he dressed me on the game 7 against the Penguins, and so this game is slowing down. It's not going, and he goes to me right before we score. He goes, "Are you ready?" I have one shoulder. I'm not supposed to be out there. And I said, yes. And David Volek scored from a pass from Ray Ferraro and then against Tom Barrasso. And that's how we eliminated the Penguins. But I was supposed to go on the ice with one shoulder. And I could see the level dropping down and just the energy, and I have full of energy. I'm ready. So anyway, so a little story there that, I didn't go on the ice. We won, but I was supposed to go on the ice. I know she. So I wanted to. Yeah. So I just the emotion, the adrenaline I had. I wanted to go. It just didn't matter. I wanted to go. So I don't know what. So that's one. And the other thing is St. Louis. Against Phoenix, we were losing 3-1 in the series, and we came back to win in OT. And I deflected the puck to win in OT game 7. So St. Louis was a fun place to play also. There's a lot of good places, but I love St. Louis. Again, I play with Brett. What a good, it's crazy. A bad pass was a good pass, So
Yeah,
it's just,
exactly.
he made it a good pass, And funny story with him is at the end of practice, he goes, your sticks is not good. So he decries him. So he tells me. And I said, okay. And he goes, I'll show you how to do it one time. He showed me how to do it one time. I'm 27 years old at that point. I'm 10 years in the league. I'm thinking, okay, all right, this year,
100 seasons already.
Yeah. So, and I'm thinking, and I came out of there and learned something. I learned something. It's crazy. Yeah. So you never stop learning. My point is, he was saying your upper hand away from your body. So if the pass is more forward, you can move your hands forward and then let the stick do the work. So all other things. But I learned something at 27 years old. And even today, when I coach, I used to coach kids, and I still teach that just because it was from Brett. And Brett was best guy that could shoot the puck, I tell you. I mean, like I said, a bad pass, he needed a good pass. Yeah. Crazy how good he was. And what playing with Al McInnes, Chris Pronger, yeah. Al McInnes, these guys. Wow. So we had an incredible team for sure. That was fun to play there.
You look fantastic. You look happy. You look like you're in great shape. You're now living in Colorado, right? Tell me about Florida. What's going on right now. How are you spending your time?
Florida.
So I work in Florida. Sorry, you're in Colorado right now, though.
So Colorado, my kids are all in here, so we're back and forth. We spend a lot of time in the summer here, but in winter time we're more in. So we spend probably 7 or 8 months or so in Florida, and then the rest we just travel and come see the kids. And even that, being in Florida, the kids want to come visit, which is good. That's what we want, and we have grandkids too. So best part of life, you have the grandkids. So that's a lot of fun. So I enjoy the traveling part. I do things with, I did Mario Lemieux's fantasy camp. The Islanders had something. I'm going to go tomorrow. I'm leaving for Pat LaFontaine's golf tournament in New York. So it's easy. I do things I want to do. I'm very blessed to be able to do that. And I keep busy that way. And I still working out. I'm still playing hockey. I still play the game. And I still love the game, and so that's how I keep busy.
Your son Dominic, if I'm not incorrect, was drafted by the Red Wings back in 2016. Is he still playing somewhere? Or
he actually played in Finland last year, and now he's in Sweden. So he's playing in Sweden. So he's going to be flying back in November, which is very good. That's cool. I'm going to be able to be a part of it. So that's very cool. He's still playing. He's 27 years old, and whatever it goes, and he's trying to stretch his career and. As long as he's still having fun at the end of the day. That's what it comes down to. And then when it's time to go.
And your daughter Val played at Harvard for a couple of years?
That's right. She did. Yeah, she played a couple of years in Harvard. And I coached her for many years. I was involved in coaching. I love that part too. So I coached the girls. I couldn't believe how competitive that was, And so I love that part. And then even my oldest one, that passed away in a car accident in 2010. So we struggled with this for a lot of years, but I was thankful that I was able to spend 3 years when I retired to coach her, being involved around her. So I was, I really enjoy that part too, for sure. And her twin that's got 2 baby now, she went to DU, Denver University. She played volleyball here. And it was just different to go see a different sport,
Life throws you some horrible situations, and you seem to have adjusted to it quite well. To what do you attribute that? Is it things you've learned along the way? Is it your parenting coming up? Or where did you get that from?
I think my parents, obviously. My dad was a lumberjack, worked hard. My mom was, she cleaned houses, and they were very, humble. Just I love a lot of respect. My parents, we learned a lot, but going through adversity like this, it takes, you never know how to expect that. You never know how to deal with it. It takes time. It took us 2 years. And to be honest with you, we felt like we were stuck in muds for a couple of years. Getting up in the morning, it's heavy. You just feel like, and then you have bunch of questions. Why not me? Why not her? Why not you? Now you could go, why to a girl, she's got a beautiful life in front of her. And I think now, I don't want to waste the time with my other kids. I want to embrace that time, my grandkids. Life is fragile. So I think I try to work on it every day, try to slow it down as much as I can so I can embrace smaller things. It doesn't need to be big things. So embrace the moment. Just go, it doesn't look at the tree, look at the bird, whatever that is that makes you be in that moment, stay there. And I work at it and try to. And I think that's something that I learned through that adversity. And even today, I mean, I think you never forget. You just how to learn to live with it. That's probably and then, but it's still a struggle. I mean, some days you just might be driving, listen to music that she used to hear and you used to hear around her or play, and it brings you back there. So but it's, today I want to be here and it's going to be time to go, it's going to be time to go. But before I go, I want to embrace the time I have with the people that I love around me. So I want to embrace that.
So well said. Before we started recording, you and I were talking about our grandchildren. How amazing is that to have that stage of life to share with grandchildren?
Oh, seeing the kids, and now it's funny because she's 2.5 and she's talking to us like we should understand what she's saying. And you're like, and you look at mom and mom goes, that's what she started to say. You're like, okay, this is funny. But this is the great part of just seeing the change every day, every week. And it's just fun. And then we have one that was born in July 5th. And so little boy, Liam. And so it's pretty cool. And then Alexandra, her twin that, Elizabeth passed away, she named her daughter Elizabeth, just like her sister that passed away. Crazy. Wow. I know. That was very emotional when she announced that for us.
Boy, you've gone through some incredible things, my friend. It has been so good. It was so nice to catch up with you at the Legends hockey game. And I was thinking in my head, and I didn't want to say this to you then, it'll be so great when I get to be a part of the ceremony where I get to put the jacket on you at center ice.
That's so
and now we get the chance to do that, which I am so looking forward to. It is so well deserved for you. Really appreciate your time. Before you take off, can we play 5 fast facts with you? Do you mind?
Do it.
I'll ask you 5 quick questions, and this will just tell us some key facts about you. Okay, you all set?
Okay.
We're going to play 5 fast facts. Name the best teammate that you ever played with. I stumped you already.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, Brett Hall, but there's many, Al McInnes. There's it's you told me, and then Alexander Mogilny.
Yeah.
You could go Dave Enerchuk.
You played with some great ones. All right, let me ask you this, and I think I know the answer to this one. Who was the best coach you ever played for?
Al Arbor.
Yeah, I figured that one was going to be easy. Who did you hate?
Joe Quenneville is right there. Joe Quenneville is right there for sure for me. Joe Quenneville, love the man. Yeah.
All right.
Joe
Fair
Quenneville.
enough. But Al Arbor is Al Arbor.
Al Arbor. Yeah.
Who did you hate playing against the most, and why?
I didn't mind the physical part. What I didn't mind was someone who was good with the sticks and took away your time and space to create. Lindstrom, Rayborg. These two to me. Because you know what? They took away time and space. That's what I didn't like as much. So let's say this. I knew exactly when the face-off happened where Rayborg and Lindstrom were on the ice. I went the other side. I just knew it.
For sure.
I knew it. I say you might come across, but you know what? I'm going to a place where I might have had the time to. But they got close to you enough before you got that puck, so they just could poke you and took away. Or you try to make a pass over a stick, then they got in the air and they put it down. But so it was hard to play against these guys because they were so good with time and space.
All right. You played in a number of different NHL cities. I mentioned that right off the top.
Yep.
Was there one that was your favorite NHL city to play in? I mean, I would think Montreal because that's where you're from.
Montreal, Chicago. Love Fair Chicago enough. Too. Yeah.
If you hadn't become an NHL player, what career would you have had instead? Was there a plan B?
No, but with time, I love architecture. I love design. A weird thing, but yeah, all the house we built, I draw down. I just like to draw.
That's
Weird,
very impressive. That's very
bizarre. I like art. Yeah, that's what I like.
Hockey Hall of Famer Pierre Turgeon. Pierre, thank you so much for this. This has been so much fun. Thank you for doing this with us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hockey Hall of Famer Pierre Turgeon.
Very kind.
Thank you, sir. Hockey Hall of Famer Pierre Turgeon, one of only 46 players in NHL history with 500 or more goals. The Overtime Podcast is proudly presented by 7-Eleven. Before leaving the rink, order your favorite Slurpee, fresh 100% premium Arabica coffee, hot from the oven pizza and wings, a pint of ice cream, or even a carton of milk, a dozen eggs, and a loaf of bread from the 7NOW app. And Team 7-Eleven will have your order ready for pickup 24/7. Hey, if you miss any parts of the show, don't worry. Visit our website at overtimepodcast.ca, where you can both listen and subscribe to future shows. 7-Eleven's Overtime Podcast can be found on the iHeartRadio app, Spotify, iTunes, Podcast, or any of your favorite podcast platforms. Until next week, I'm Gino Retta, saying so long, hockey fans, and thanks for joining us on the 7-Eleven Overtime Podcast.